Chapter 9. Bloody Fingers. By the time Cass closed the door to her bedroom, she hardly had any fingernails left. She chewed them down to the nubs. 2 of her fingertips were bleeding, gruesome reminders of the ancient fingers that had signaled the beginning of her latest troubles. Her fingers hurt, and she didn't mind the pain. She deserved it. She never felt worse. Never more guilty. She was the one who'd broken off the mummy's finger. She was the one who had encouraged her friends to sneak back into the exhibit, making it look as though they'd stolen the mummy. She was the one who had betrayed the trust of Albert 3D. Never more anxious, she didn't know what punishment was in store for her friends and herself. Expulsion, jail time, whatever it was, not graduating from middle school was likely to be the least of it. Never more afraid somebody had taken the mummy. Somebody who knew it was the mummy of the man who discovered the secret. Somebody ruthless and disdainful of the consequences. Somebody who very likely knew about Cass and her friends as well. Worst of all, she, Cass, was no closer to finding the secret. With the mummy gone, she was farther away from the secret than ever. As she sat down on her bed, she looked up at the old photos and magazine articles that covered her walls. They depicted disasters and destruction of consequential varieties. Floods, fires, earthquakes, explosions, storms, plagues, animal attacks, heat waves, droughts, water and power shortages, war, famine, asteroid impacts, meteorites. The list went on. But nothing that anticipated her current predicament. She spent her whole life preparing for sudden, unexpected events over which she would have little to no control. And yet here she was dealing with a calamity that was almost entirely of her own making. Why did she have to break the mummy's finger? Why did she have to insist on going back upstairs? Why couldn't she ever leave well enough alone? She, Cass, was the disaster. Instead of preparing for earthquakes, she thought she should have been preparing for herself. Her mother opened the door without knocking. Albert called, she said, looking not at Cass, but at some invisible point in the distance. It's very disappointing to you and your friends. No kidding. He wants to see us all first thing in the morning. What about school? Tomorrow's Sunday. Oh yeah. Besides, you'll be lucky if you're allowed back to school. I told you we didn't save it, Cassandra. Her mom slammed the door shut. Cass stared at it. Her mother had said almost nothing all night, as if she was given up on Cass altogether. Cass would much have preferred a good fight. She knew her mother thought that she and her friends had taken the mummy. If her mother had come right out and said so, then Cass would have defended herself and had a pleasure of being angry at all the horribly unfair and totally unforgivable things that her mother said. Her mother's silence was excruciating. Fully dressed, Cass crawled under the covers, ready to abandon herself in tears and self-pity. But she couldn't. It was in her nature. Unburned by the image of Pietro, beloved leader of the Trade Society, entered her head. He always told her how much he believed in her. The secret keeper. She couldn't let him down. Not now. Sit up, she told herself. You're a survivalist. Think like one. What to do? She pulled the ibis ring out of her pocket and put it on her finger, hoping that it might suddenly supply an answer. Just a short time earlier, the ring had made her feel so confident. Then there was the excitement of finding the mummy, the so-called Dr. Amun. For a moment, it has seemed like such a breakthrough. The man who had discovered the secret. What could bring her closer to discovering the secret herself? Now Moon was missing, and the ring seemed more mysterious than helpful. It buzzed almost uncomfortably. She took it off. What made it do that, she wondered. Did the ring have a defiant power? A clearer purpose? She inspected the ring for the 10th or 20th time. There was no inscription on the inside of the band. It didn't say "to mummy with love" or "until the afterlife do us part," or "think of the memories," or anything like that. Not even hieroglyphs. The only hieroglyph on the ring was the ibis carved into the blue stone. At first, Cass had wondered if maybe there was a secret compartment under the ibis, but the top of the ring didn't screw off. There didn't seem to be any latch or hinge. Giving up on the ring inspection, she searched through a desk drawer and located a thin gold chain her grandfather had given her as a birthday present a few years earlier. She never worn it before. As a rule, she considered necklaces worse than frivolous. They were a choking hazard. But now she had threaded the chain through the ring and hung it around her neck. Far from a good luck charm, the ring was beginning to seem more like a talisman of doom. But she had a distinct feeling it was the safest to keep the mysterious gold artifact near her at all times.